Rotary. Welcome to Flint. I see lots of green on today, so happy St. Patrick's Day to all.
I think it's because of the spark.
That too, does double duty, right? We can all be started today. All right, so I appreciate your grace today. Today is one of those days where different parts of your lives converge. And it all happens to converge at like 11:15, and all of a sudden I'm supposed to be getting right here and in work. So thank you to everybody who is willing to pitch in and cover all the bases. But not just St. Patrick's Day, also National Submarine Day. It's National Preschool Teachers Appreciation Day, which is Red Nose Day, and also World Sleep Day. I don't know, I can celebrate that one. And of course, you know, last week, we all survived the trauma of the great snowstorm that wasn't. You know, made it through that okay. And it's going to get even better from there, because today we're going to be hearing from David Smith as our guest speaker. And he would not be put down by that terrible blizzard that was. We're glad to have him here today. So I don't know what he's got planned exactly, but I know that there's red cup oftentimes involved when he comes to the podium. So fair warning, right? But with that, let's go ahead and proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of the Union. And as Rotarians, we try to live by the four-way test of the things we do. Will it feel good? Will it better? Will it be beneficial or all concerned? I love the eagerness there. You got ahead of me. That's okay. We have, I think, our inspirational message today. Patrick Naswell was up for that, and here he is. And it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Patrick. Is that why your name Patrick?
Yes, so the story is that my father is Catholic, was Catholic, and they believe very strongly that your saint's name should be part of your name. And so I'm very, very grateful I wasn't born on St. Ignatius. Well, today's inspirational message is based on some current events that are, to me, very, very serious because of my back is busted. And one thing that you notice is if you have faith, stay with the plan, right? Firm. If you have faith, do what you're supposed to do. Like, for instance, you may be able to overcome the odds, right? And so that's something that I want you all to keep in mind. Have faith, stick with the plan. There are going to be tough moments, but you can do it. Thank you.
Can't think of a more appropriate March Madness inspirational message than that. So thank you, Patrick. Everybody enjoy. We'll be back shortly. By all means, continue to eat, but we're going to go ahead and get started with some of our announcements for this week. So we have a few updates from various committees, which we try to do a few times throughout the year, so you have a sense both of some of the important work they've been doing and also some of the timely things that you might want to be aware of so you could be involved. And so one of those things relates to the philanthropy committee, which I said got my new thing covering it. Let me change that. And for that, I'm going to invite up Ellen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a reminder that we are still taking applications for programs that could use a little infusion of funds. There's handouts on your tables. There's not enough for everybody, but we did an email that out last week, and I'm also asking to do it again. So that we have it electronically. We've received some, so thank you to everybody who's turned one in. We have some really great options, and we're looking for a few more. So the deadline is next Friday, and we strongly encourage you to think about special programs in the community that could use Rotary's help.
Thanks, Ellen. And for those of you who weren't here last week, the focus is on programs that either kind of educational based that might serve children or adults, or that have kind of an arts and culture based, So if you know of organizations that fall into those kinds of categories, then by all means, please fill out that form. We'd love to have your input. Also want to present you a little information about a service opportunity that's coming up. Jim Richardson is here. I believe he's going to convey this opportunity.
Well, good afternoon, and so I'm pinch hitting for Jay Richardson, who is, as we speak, managing a group of volunteers preparing seed packets to be included in Edible Flint's distribution on May the 20th. And that's why I'm here this afternoon to tell you about this service opportunity for members of the Rotary. So Edible Flint is distributing 800 kits of vegetable plants and seeds to about 500 gardeners on Saturday, May the 20th. We need volunteers to help us prepare and distribute these garden kits. And I'm asking Rotarian members to help that up and sign up to help us do that on May the 20th. Well, Edible Flint, you may not have heard about it, supports Flint and Genesee County families with growing and assessing healthy foods and to connect them with the land and with each other. It's a volunteer-driven nonprofit organization with a very simple and direct mission. And it also has many physical tasks, includes this one that we're doing on May the 20th. In practical terms, Edible Flint encourages folks to have a home garden to provide fresh vegetables for their family. It does that by teaching folks how to grow a garden, by demonstrating home gardens with its urban farm that's located in Flint, and making available vegetable plants and seeds for growing at a highly discounted price. On each of your tables is a copy of the order form, and you can see in it different kinds of kits that are being offered. You'll also note that they're being sold at a bargain price. We can do that because we purchase these plants and seeds at a wholesale and bulk rate, pass the savings on to the gardeners. So this May 20th is a huge event that has a rather practical name of Distribution Day. And it is this day that we put together all the kits and distribute them to 500 gardeners, somewhere around 500 gardeners. This year, we will receive 237 flags of 48 varieties of vegetables and herbs that the Edible Flint has purchased from local growers like Walker's Farm, Wojo's, and the Mary Sam's Garden. All of these plants are delivered the morning of May the 20th to the distribution site, which is the Neighborhood Engagement Hub up on Green Avenue. In the morning, we repackage the flats into appropriate garden-sized kits. that also include packages of seeds that are appropriate to the type of garden that we're putting together. In the afternoon, gardeners arrive and they pick up all of these kits, as well as bags of compost, and maybe check in on the information booth. So this task, we need about 8 to 10 Rotarians to help us load flats at Walker's farm, and then to help repackage them, the flats, in the 800 garden kits. We'll meet at Walker's farm at 7:45 in the morning, transfer something like 89 flats into vehicles provided by Flint Fresh to take up to the neighborhood engagement hub, follow the truck up to the NEH to help repackage them from other flats that have come in from Wojo's, from Mary Sam's Garden into these 800 garden kits. The work is completed by 11 o'clock in the morning, ready for about 500 purchasers to show up starting about noontime. So we can be flexible. If 7:45 isn't your thing, and you'd like to get up a little bit later and come join us at 9:30 in the morning at the Neighborhood Engagement Hub to help put together these kits, we'll be done with that job by about 11. And then the distribution beginning around 11:30, 12 o'clock. And that takes more folks. So if you're willing to come and work for the afternoon, that helps us distribute all of these kits. So all of these cars will be showing up, loading in 30-pound bags of compost, helping people have send in directions, activities that sort about managing a whole lot of people at a time. So if you think you can help, please sign up with me. I have a sign up list with me. If you haven't decided yet, perhaps you could call me. My phone number is, we can list it on the website, as well as my email address. Call me, text me, email me, yell out your window to me, something. We'd love to have you. Thank you very much.
First, put that, a summary of the information into the email for next week, so we can have all that information that we can talk about. And I hope that several of us will be able to do it. Sounds like, for me, by the time May 26th, I'm ready to be outside and green plant. Wanted to also share an update here. This is coming via our ad hoc committee looking at ways of experimenting with date and time and whatnot. And we were going to try to play with some of those format sorts of things on the week that we don't have a traditional meeting, either because of a holiday or because of this Friday. So the first one of these kind of experimental opportunities is going to be coming up at the end of this month. So being a fifth Friday, we will not be meeting here on March 31st. Instead, we are inviting you to try something different. And that is going to be a happy hour gathering in person at Market Tap. And that's going to be Thursday, March 30th at 5 o'clock. We'll probably hang out for about an hour or so. So if you're wanting to gather with one of the Rotarians about that time, Joe has been kind enough to put that together for us. I think he may have even wrangled us in 3 pizzas. So if that is something that appeals to you, and I hope it does, that you'll consider joining us for that day. All right, and because it's St. Patrick's Day, also we have, I think, a special announcement from one of our prospective members. So, Jim, would you like to come and tell us, give us your minute, 2-minute spiel about what you've got to say?
My pleasure. It's wonderful to be here with you all. And for years, I've wanted to join this organization because you do so much for our entire community. But this weekend, We are all Irish. And tomorrow evening at the Flint Institute of Music, the Flint Organ Theater Club is putting on all things Irish. And that means all of you come and join us for a lot of fun and music at the Flint Institute of Music. You can bring youngsters. We have some youngsters going to play for you Irish music tomorrow evening. And you all may know or not that the organ, the Lady Barton organ at the Flint Institute of Music was once upon a time at the Capitol Theater. And it helped to introduce movies, film, active film. Dr. Quincy Dobbs, a piano, organ, accordion teacher at the Flint Institute of Music, will be playing that. And he might even let you come and do your thing on it. You could hear a train whistle, etc. Many different stops. It's a fundraiser for the organ because it's been at the Flint Institute of Music for 54 years. And the club members have passed on along with St. Patrick. And those that would come and work on the organ, it takes constant, diligent maintenance, have died. So he has nobody. Dr. Quincy Dobbs is the president of the organ club, and he needs support. So please come. Take more time, but I'd like to say it's at 7 o'clock in the evening. Park in the rear. There's a beautiful parking space to the rear of the Flint Institute of Music. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you do not reject me.
Great, thanks for that, Jim. So hopefully, some of us might get a partake tomorrow at 7 o'clock. All right, before I move on, I do have one other quick announcement from one of our committees. So the administration committee, is one of the things that they do is they organize the weekly program. And Lynette, of course, heads up the overall effort for the year. And traditionally, we have a Rotarian who volunteers to take on the programming responsibility for a certain month. And so April, taken care of, that's good to go. But my understanding is that for June, July, and August, there are opportunities for any one of us who might be interested to step forward and say, I'll take charge of organizing the program for the weeks that month. So if you are so willing, if you've got perhaps some ideas of some programs that you think might be interesting to hear, I ask that you please connect with Lynetta, let her know that you'd be willing to support us with that. All right. So March, Women's History Month. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've gathered in person, but we talked before about some women in STEM-related careers. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to focus on women in Rotary. And so the first question, feel free to shout it out. Who was the first woman member of this club right here, the Rotary Club of Flint? Keep that answer in mind. You may keep that coming later. She was actually not the first member. I didn't know this until yesterday. So this is according to Paul Wenstrom, who I had the good fortune of running into yesterday. I didn't know this. He said that Elizabeth Kelly Schultz was the first woman to be part of this club in 1986, which he remembers that Paul was president that year. And so we talked a little bit about what it was like to make that sort of a culture shift to a club that was having its first women members. So I don't know if anybody knew Elizabeth Schultz personally. She was ahead of my time, but you know, that would be a story I'd be interested in hearing at some point about what that experience was like for those things. Part of that. All right, so now, who was the first woman president of our club? Kathy Sonderman, that's right, absolutely. So who's the second woman? Julianne Krasinski, that's right. And since then, of course, we've had several, and now we're going to have a succession of them, because after me, you'll have Anne Marie, and after Anne Marie, you'll have Ellen. So we'll keep the streak going a little longer there. I didn't know the answer to this. I don't know if anybody who's been involved with the district level has an idea of this, but who was the first woman district governor for District 6330? I didn't have a clue. Crawford, yes. Her name was Judy Crawford. And I also don't know anything more about her, but if anybody does, I would also be interested in learning about that experience. All right, and this one hopefully is going to be a gimme for a lot of folks in the room. So who was the first woman president of Rotary International? Jennifer Jones, and she happens to be our current president. So that glass ceiling has been broken. And that brings us to the end of our little quiz. So stay tuned. We have one more week in March coming up. We'll see what we focus on for women's history next time. All right, so let's proceed with health and welfare announcements. I don't think I was made aware of any health or welfare updates this week, but if you got one to share, now will be the time. Hopefully that means everybody's in good spirits and good health. In terms of guests to be welcomed, I know we have at least one prospective member who's already introduced himself today, Jim. Nice to have you here again. I don't believe we have any guests on Zoom with them. And yeah, so, and we also have a second, this close to being official member, Robert. Glad to have you here today, and I'm sure you're sitting next to the right guy in terms of orientation, scheduling, and all that. So that's all right. That brings us then to everybody's favorite of 50-50. Who thinks they have the luck of the Irish today?
I do. You get to pull a name, you get to stir the pot, Patrick. Okay. Finally, I can assure this thing is gonna be fair. Probably because I don't win.
Now stir it. Oh, hold on. Stir the pot. Mind if I count my own tickets, or could I trust you to count my numbers? Check my numbers for me.
Oh, I'll check your number.
I'm sure you will. Now stir the pot carefully. I got. You're gonna play the game. You gotta play it right.
Shall I read it?
Yes.
714572.
Well, where no man has gone before or wants to go. Didn't win, did you?
I did not.
Try it again.
714618.
Hey.
So far, this thing is still unfair.
And now for the green that everybody loves, Irish or not.
714633.
I still think it's right. Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
All right, so congratulations to Hank. our speaker, guest speaker, and to do the introduction, we have Amy Green.
Good afternoon. Our speaker this afternoon is actually one of our very own. So I always feel bad making introductions, but there's a couple things in here that I might have. I didn't know, so maybe you won't find that. So David Smith has been a member of the Rotary Club of Flint since 1991 in active roles in a variety of different things, including and most importantly, as Dark Man Days. He is past president and has served as assistant district governor and worked with a variety of district committees, the Paul Harris Fellow and the Jack Henry Fellow. David is a writer, an active runner, storyteller, and adventurer. He enjoys exploring nature and making interesting choices every day. He and his wife Suzanne raised their family in Flushing and are an active part of their community. Last June, David graduated from his career at Scott Furniture, and his first project was to write his new book, Hope This Finds You. He's here today to share a little bit about the book's message and perhaps offer a few thoughts to help carry you through to make your way through the day. And he also brought extra copies. I asked him if he was running away from home to get a suitcase. He's got copies of his book. So please join us, David.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here in this little different role. Obviously, most of my time spent up here has been to make a fool of myself in a variety of ways. Hopefully today won't be a complete departure from that. But Amy, thanks for the introduction. I hope I got that right. It was kind of fun for Amy to ask, if I would come and speak to you all today. And I couldn't think of what we would talk about, but as it happens, I just wrote a book, so there's that. But a lot of other things I would love to share, and maybe we'll get to those in another time. One of the things I want to start off by saying is that today is I have triplets sons, and today is their birthday, Chip and Patrick. And so it's a pretty exciting day every year. It's a pretty exciting day for a lot of reasons. They live a pretty full life, but every 17th of March is a pretty lucky day for our family. So we're really happy to have them around. At any rate, so we're going to talk about the book. I think I'll get to that in just a second. But it helps me to kind of set the stage a little bit so you just kind of play along. That's okay. Excellent. All right. So what I want you to do for starters is I want you to think about yesterday for just a few minutes. All right, just think about yesterday. Think about all that went on during the day. Now, what I want you to do is to think about what was the best part of your day yesterday. Okay. Who'd be willing to share? Who's going to share the best part of the day? Man?
After about a half hour before the work, text each other and say, we're both exhausted, let's go to Redwood. So I show up to Redwood and I said, oh, there's my parents right there. So I got to hang out with my parents unexpectedly. And I liked it, so it was fun. It was
All right. Who else would like to share that? Best part of the day, possible. Nice, great idea. That's wonderful. Congratulations. That's great. Excellent. Who else? Best part of your day yesterday? There's a couple. Oh, right behind it. Connie has a question. Connie. No, nice. Very nice. Yeah, okay, Amy's down. By the way, if you don't raise your hand, there's a dollar to come for you. That's part of your day. Go ahead.
So all the way back then, well, getting to know somebody that wants to do all these.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, who else? Chance to get out of that dollar. Of our new member, and you know, I don't know your name. Mr. Bowtie, okay.
Who's the band member?
Yep.
That's one of my days was, 3-year-old granddaughter got to go to work with my daughter, who was a registered nurse in Indiana. And she got to go minister patients. And I dated her. Lady got to be 101 years old, and she was like,
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. All right, one more. Anybody? One more. Yeah.
It had this concert, and it was just nice after a busy day to be able to enjoy kids playing music.
Oh, that's great. Great. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for that. All right. So I'm not going to tell you this whole story, but I will tell you the shortest version. In that about 17, 18 years ago, I was sent to Meyer to get something. It was late at night to get to something for one of my kids' project that they had to do, something like that. And this was way before the self-checkout thing. And I was going to register, and the only register that was open was the one that was the express line. You remember that? They had a sign over there that said 10 items or less, right? And I got behind a woman who either could not count or could not read, one of the two. And she had like, she was getting ready for the apocalypse or something. I had one piece of thing I needed to pick up, and I just kind of like trying to get her attention, telepathically, of course, to, let me go through. But not only she could not read, could not count, also could not read mine. So she's like checking out, and she's going through her 300 things. And in the back of my mind, I'm developing really sarcastic thing that I want to say. Right? If I can get her attention, I'm going to show her what, because I've had a rough day, and I really need to take it out of my life. And so I'm standing behind her, finally, I get her attention. And, she's putting her things on the belt there, and I get her attention, and she looks at me, kind of smiles. And I say, and they have to tell you, the words sounded like one thing in my head, but when they came out of my mouth, they sounded like something else. I said, so, what was the best part of your day today? Right? And instead of being insulted, because that's what I really wanted her to feel, she said, oh, that's easy. Best part of my day, that was the first thing this morning. I got to be in the car with my kids. We're driving to school. It's the only time we're complete, if they're not distracted, I have their undivided attention. We can talk about things. It's really just the best part of my day every single day. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, she finishes checking out and goes on her way. And then after she's gone, the cashier was looking at me a little expectantly, like, I hear the conversation. I said, well, what was the best part of your day today? And she took a few minutes, and she finally said, the best part of my day today was when I got to be off my feet for about 10 minutes at my break. Now, I didn't know this woman, never met her before, but she gave me this tiny little glimpse into what must be a pretty challenging day. Challenging what? On the best part of your day, to be off your feet. Over the next week or 10 days, I asked 25 people that question. What was the best part of your day? And I'm telling you, it was an amazing experience to have people say, little things and big things, the things that inspire you and things that humble you, because they were the best part of the day. Since that time, I will tell you, in meetings like this, in training meetings, stranger meetings, bank lobbies, airports, you can name it, anywhere I meet people, I will ask them, what's the best part of your day today? And a lot of people don't answer. They kind of blow me off because I look like that kind of wacko. But most people answer honestly. And I will tell you something that is true in this room, and it's been true for every time I've asked the question. And this is it, Connie, you know this, I can see it in your face from here. When I ask you to think about the best part of your day yesterday, you all went back in time through the catalog and things and you found one or two items that were really special. And then you picked out the one that was the best, right? And there's some touching stories that behind them. When you thought of that time, and then when you said it out loud, what happens is your mind and your body thinks that you're reliving that moment. It thinks you're back there again, having the best part of your day. The really cool thing about that is that every time I ask that question, just like all of you in this room just now, we got to see some of that light too. Now, what Elizabeth went through yesterday, when she had that little time to just listen to kids play probably really horrible music, I mean, we got to enjoy some of the joy that she felt yesterday. And I'm telling you something, it changes the environment that you're in. It starts with you. As soon as you say to yourself, "That's part of my day," and you think about that and you get to relive it, it changes things for you just for that little moment, for a little break from what sometimes can be a tough day. And if someone happens to be with you and you share it and say it out loud, you both get to enjoy it. Pretty cool, huh? What's strange is that when I ask people that question, many times they'll look at me like, "What's this guy up to?" It's a little strange to hear. You know what's even more, would be really strange, is if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, what was the worst part of your day yesterday?" Right? Tell me about the worst part of your day yesterday. It'd be awesome. Because the same thing happens. If someone asks you, "What was the worst part of your day yesterday?" and you go back and you find it and you think about it and you relive it, and your mind thinks you're still in that spot, and your body feels all the emotions that come with stress or chaos or whatever that you felt was the worst part of your day. And who would do that? The fact is, we do it to ourselves all day, every day. We sit at our desk and complain about what happened yesterday, or we're mad because we got cut off in traffic this morning, or we're still fighting with our wife about whatever it was 2 weeks ago that we lost the fight about. All of those things happen to us. We kind of hang on to them, we live them, we bring them out once in a while, and we polish them up a little bit so we can be miserable a little bit longer. And we're even better at it than that. Sometimes we can even project into the future and say, "I wonder what the worst part of my day will be today. Or what can I really be upset about, or nervous about, or anxious about for next week?" Now, I know that there's plenty, I mean, we're all professionals, we've been in the world, we're faced with problems and chaos and stress, and, you know, there's enough things certainly that are faced in our world every day to be worried about, concerned about. There's no shortage of things to fill in the answer. What's the worst part of your day? I'm here to tell you that's not what we're here for. Now, I know that we have responsibilities as human beings and as leaders, as Rotary, to pay attention to the problems of the world, and certainly our own problems, you know, raising children and paying taxes and leading people and running businesses and all the things that we're involved in, all that. But I'm telling you, that's not all we're made for. And what my experience is, I'm not speaking here as an authority, I'm here speaking as a student. I have failed at this for most of my professional life, but I'm done with that. Not for my professional life necessarily, but I'm trying not to fail as often. So that leads me to eventually to this book. So about 23 years ago, some of you know this, I started writing a weekly column called On Your Own. And the idea of it was aimed originally at just kind of sharing some news with some friends of mine, little things of, you know, what happened with raising the triplets, or, you know, working, or, you know, uncovering groundhogs, or colonoscopies, or whatever it was that was flying on my mind that week. And I would share that in these essays each week, and I've been doing that every single Monday since 1990. So that was fun, and the great thing about it, the exciting thing was that as my list of friends who around the country who've been reading this, it has become something more important to me, not only to make sure that I have something worth reading, but it's also developed into this other thing. And what I have hoped for in the last 15 or so years of that career of writing is that I could provide people with this little space, this little 5-minute space away from all the things that conspire to make the worst part of your day. I would just like you to have just a little break from that, where you can sit with a friend and just hear something encouraging or funny, or maybe thoughtful, or maybe stupid. I don't know. All those things happen every single week. Now, that's been a ride. I've enjoyed doing that, and I would encourage all of you, if you're not doing it now, to subscribe or go to my website. The information, by the way, is on the bookmark and on your desk, on your table. Excuse me. So, for all those years, first of all, anybody in here who read Monday morning, and we got a few people on about that. So it's easy. By the way, you can sign up for it if you want to have the email sent to you, or you can go to my website, which is all on. Anyway, so over the last few years, people have been asking if I would ever take a collection of these Monday morning essays and put them in a book. And the answer to that question is yes. I was hoping you knew. Answer the question is yes. The name of the book is Hope Finds You and Letters from a Friend. And the reason it's called that will be obvious in just a minute. Read, if you don't mind, an essay or so from it. But at the end of every essay, I say to my readers, hope this finds you delighted or interested or funny or whatever it might be for that day. And I don't know how many different examples there are to say that. There's a few in this book, and hopefully you get a chance to read them. So would you like me to read them?
Yeah.
All right, it'll take a few minutes, so you find one real quickly. So this is a little longer than I normally like to read a group, but I will say that it tells the story of the book. And so I'm going to share it with you because I also think it will be helpful for the rest of your day. And you may also be curious enough that you want to look inside this book. Ready? Never underestimate the day. May 2019. Greetings from where we prepare. Over 20 years ago, I started sharing essays with the world in a column I call Monday Morning. The start of the week is often filled with a certain anxiety that maybe even soaks into Sunday night. The challenges and responsibilities of the day loom large, and sometimes we have a hard time looking directly at them. On this morning, and every one since I began, I have sought to find a better way to start our week other than dreading it. 4 weeks ago, to the minute, I stood in a hotel room and looked out the window at the wind and rain punishing the city. Trees pleaded for mercy, bent over sidewalks, shredded by the wind, and the few people on the sidewalk were soaked by the monsoon. I watched with a cold lump in my chest, knowing I would be running in that way. Struggled not to let the image ruin my hope. Not many hours later, I would line up to run the Boston Marathon. Not a drop of rain fell on me until the last mile, and then it was a welcome, refreshing shower. Never underestimate the day. It's human nature to see what could be challenges ahead and try to plan for it. It's a mature reaction to expect that problems will arise and to brace yourself for them to some degree. We don't factor in for rain, bring the umbrella, we get soaked. But life is not just umbrella. It is what we experience and what we make of that experience. The quality of our life is not determined by what the weather does, or what people say, or the chaos that sometimes awaits. The full potential of our lives comes from how we fill the moment in anticipation and respond to what comes to us. I finished my coffee hours ago, already thinking of a list of things that wait for me. Some are less than pleasant. What also crossed my mind is a host of possible problems hovering around in the days to come. I'm betting many of you have already gone through this exercise. We don't have to give in to this. Never underestimate the day. Some weeks ago, I spoke to a group of training leaders for the CRIM, a festival of running races in Flint, my home city. I was looking forward to it, felt like I was prepared, and that the message was one they would find value in. That morning, I saw the impact of my words was bigger than I expected. A few weeks later, I was still running into people who were touched by the word. I had underestimated the day and them and me. Yesterday, I ran in the cool morning, feeling the potential in me, feeling it in the gray morning. It reminded me of many other days that started this way, immersed in nature, feeling my body work and having the time to let my thoughts gather in their own way. A few miles into the run, I turned up a trail, scattering rabbits and a band of deer, and climbed up a small bluff that overlooked the river there. I stood in the slanted morning light and felt my breath, the pounding of my heart, and the stillness of the forest. A few birds seizing the moment, and then 2 woodpeckers added their percussion. The beauty caught me by surprise and filled my eyes with tears. I left home knowing, expecting an awesome morning. And even so, even feeling the potential, it took me being there to realize I had underestimated what the day held for me. What I know from just the slightest reflection, a bit of perspective from a few days of experience, is that we will see the beauty and the richness of every day if we expect to see it. We will know the kindness and generosity of people if we expect to see it. We will understand that even in rain or wind, even in the exchange with a stranger, or the unknown of the next moment, there is potential for great things. This color and flavor and power and love wait for us every day, and we only risk missing it if we underestimate its ability. Prepare for the best. There are a few who will look askance at this, rolling your eyes at the naive notion that what we expect has anything to do with reality, with what is given to us. Yes, life happens to us in ways we can't control. It's still our choice where we put ourselves on the spectrum. We don't have to live in fear. We don't have to simply accept that the worst is coming. The truth is, we're going to have problems today and tomorrow. What we do with them is up to us, and it will be how we measure the day. Think about that as you process each challenge. Expect that you will handle it the best you can. Expect a good outcome. Expect that others will be good humans. You can see a rainstorm on the horizon and not agonize over it. Otherwise, you get wet twice. I'll admit my selfishness here. I'm writing this all for me, really. I must arm myself with these reminders or I will fall prey to the same acts that waited for me yesterday and last week and 20 years ago. What I really want for myself and for you is to experience all that waits for me today, rain or shine, with the same spirit of high expectation that has always left me most satisfied in my life. I know that I am going to be closest to my best self if I never underestimate the day. Hope this finds you leaning into possible. David. So that's kind of a long way of saying what I want you to hear about this book. The idea that you should, I hope you're hearing this, is that my purpose in writing all of this was to remind myself every week to be a better human, not to fall prey to all the things that I was worried about, most of which did not happen, or they happened and I solved them and they were forgotten. Raising a family and running a business and raising and taking care of your aging parents and dealing with medical issues, all the things that happen in our lives, they're going to happen. We can still offer balance in our lives of some optimism and positivity and love. And we do that, I think, by not only talking to other people about that, is part of what I'm doing today, but it is also to make time for yourself every single day to have that respite. And if you don't do it on purpose, it will not happen. And many of you do this now, I know you, and you're, I'm sure, better at it than I ever would have been. But it comes down to the same thing. That if you just grind it out every day and hope that vacation will solve it, or the weekend will solve it, or whatever, I promise you, 41 years will go by and we'll have missed it. The only answer is to find that balance in every day, and it means taking that time for yourself. It could be yoga, it could be taking a run, it could be going out in nature, it could be spending time with friends. It could be any number of things. It could be, I promise you, reading this book. One of the great things about this whole operation here. This book is what I just read to you is one of the longer essays. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes to read any one. Since we started selling the book, I can't tell you how many hundreds of people have written back to me to say how much they love it and that they read it in the doctor's office. Some people, friends of me, told me she reads her as a devotional. Just take 5 minutes for yourself in the morning, a cup of coffee, and read a letter from a friend. The other thing I'll tell you about it is that you can get it at the library if you don't want to buy it. I'm not after money. I'm just telling you, this is a good place for you to go. You need it. I know you do. And if you're already got that covered, great, good for you. And buy a book and give it to a friend who doesn't know how to do this, because it is making a difference for people in all walks of life. So, I'm a writer. I've been too shy to say that for most of my adult life. Most of you, I think, or many of you may remember, I was a journalist. I wrote a column for the Journal, Human Column, for 5 years until that ended. And that was a great time for me. It was an expression of one of the things that brings me joy, and it made a lot of people laugh. And great. That was an introduction, really, to what was possible. But as you all know, I had a whole other career going on. But as soon as I graduated from staff, I decided this was going to be a priority, and I'm really, really happy I did. I don't have regrets, except I wish it would have done it 10 years ago, because truly it's reached a whole lot of people that it's mattered to. Some of whom I've known all my life, and who didn't know anything about what I had to say in these words. As a writer, my purpose is to notice, to pay attention, to be aware, and then to tell about it. And as it happens, at least in this circumstance, what I'm noticing and what I want to tell about is things that make a positive difference in people's day. And it's so easy to dismiss. It's so easy to say, there's so many other things that I have to pay attention to. I can't listen to this frivolity from the bald guy at Rotary. Give it a chance. A couple of weeks ago, Monday morning, I was out running, and it was a terrible day. It was snowing and icy and windy, and I was not feeling really up to it. It was not an ideal situation. I don't think it was not a great day to be out running, but I was out, and I'm just kind of stumbling along. I went down this road that I don't go down very often because I just don't get that way. And as it happens, it was partially plowed, so I decided to run down. Came to this intersection, and on the corner, there was a sign, and the sign said, "Don't give up." And no explanation, no, nothing else, just don't give up. I was probably a block away from it, and I realized that was what I was looking for in this day. I mean, I was trying to figure out, why would that sign be there? There's probably lots of it. So that Monday, I wrote an essay kind of built around that. I can't believe how many people are still talking that sign that just said, "Don't give up." People on the West Coast who've written to me to say, well, you can just imagine. It's a simple message. And I put it someplace where I could remind people that it matters. Don't give up. Whatever it is you're working on, whatever it is important to you today, don't give up. That is what I've been doing for 23 years. Looking for things that I think people will care about, and then connecting them with it in a few hundred words that they can either ignore or they can read in their mailbox on Monday mornings. So that's a little bit about where the book came from, and a little bit about what's inside the book. The other thing I want to share with you, I'm going to read one more essay, but I approached President Elizabeth and the Rotary Board about using the book as a fundraiser for the Rotary Foundation, and they agreed. So for the next 30 days, what we're going to do, for every book that's sold, whether it's Amazon bookstores, or you buy it from me, book signings, or wherever, and donate $5 for every book that's sold. Every book that I sell in person, I'll donate $7 per book. And the goal is going to be, in the next 30 days, come up with $1,000 that we're going to go use to award Paul Harris Fellowship to a very deserving person. So I'm selling this a little bit at a pitch to you guys because I want you to be involved with it. I'm also going to be going to the other clubs in our area and talking to them as well. I have the approval from the Flint Rotary Club. I didn't want to conflict, obviously. But I'll just tell you, if you haven't got the notion of it, this is a good book. I can't tell you how many times this has happened where I've sold a book to someone at a book signing, and they've come back and bought 10 copies for their friends. Rezuck is a perfect example of that. But again and again, I had corporate gigs where people, they buy for all their employees, and it's just been a remarkable thing to see grow. My point of telling you that is that you will not be disappointed. If you don't like the book, I promise you I will replace all the words with other words. Marie. Wow.
And I what they, and some of them have told me about this book. They read one affirmation, and it's uplift. And it keeps them going. And one of them, her husband died a year ago, and another one was 6 weeks ago. And so it's just it's something that hits the heart, and it keeps going. But I'm not that I told David about my favorite, but he kind of said about that one.
So a lot of the book, by the way, the book is segmented into 6 sections. And so if you want love stories, they're in. If you want fables, they're in. If you want something funny, go to that section. If you want to be encouraged and maybe like the first one I just read to you, there's a section for that. So you can decide where you want to go. I think I have time to read one more. 3 minutes? I can do it in 3 minutes. Before I hang up, I'll say I brought books in anticipation that some of you may want them. They're $16.99 plus tax, take credit card, cash, check. But you've got 30 days, and during that time, we'll make donations to the auditors for the farm. So real quickly, learning chess, October 2017. Greetings from the novice. I am learning how to play chess. Those words may cause some people to wince, particularly considering my short attention span, impatience, and the fact that I don't like to learn new things, or look stupid, or lose, or play chess. It is widely held that chess was created in the Far East, perhaps in the 6th century, definitely before Netflix. Originally, the players would sit on the same side of the table while playing so they would not be tempted to hurl the chess pieces at each other. This changed in the 7th century because of all the stabbing when the players had to be separated. I may have made some of this up. The chessboard in our house held basically the same space as my golf club, gathering dust, months and years piling up and coating all the motivation with a thick layer of inertia. Both chess and golf have maintained on a permanent list of things I will do someday when I have time. Chess is a lot like golf. In both cases, there's a certain amount of patience required before giving up and throwing things into a pond. I really have no business making this comparison given that I have less than 0 experience in either game or sport. I do know that I would not spend a Sunday afternoon watching someone else play either game or sport. Chess is a lot like checkers. No, it's not. Other than the board looks similar. Some boards can be folded up and used as a rectangle. This is handy when trying to keep dust from something from accumulating on a rectangular area. There are 64 squares on the chessboard, but I found that you don't use many of them if your opponent takes your pieces using some complex Kasparovian strategy that works really well against someone with a short attention span. I know the number of squares on the board, 64, because I stared at them for so long I remember which way a pawn can move. I've now reached the point where I can employ chess strategy, other than to wait until it's my turn to move. I'm too tied up in learning which way the various pieces can maneuver. It's exhausting. Consider the knight. The knight shall not move to a square which is adjacent to itself, neither in a straight line nor that of a diagonal. The knight shall only move 2 squares, and the number of squares it shall move shall be 2. 3 squares it shall not move, nor as previously described, not 1 square, for that is 1 too few. Once the fair knight hath moved 2 squares, then it shall only move to the left or to the right of its own desire, and advance then only 1 square. If in its journey this noble one should find others of its party, it may regally leap over them to achieve its quest. There are 16 pieces on my side of the board, and in theory, I'm supposed to know what to do with them somehow to get them in position to vanquish my opponent. So far, all I've been able to do is memorize the names of the pieces: the pawn, the clown, the Studebaker, and the one and the queen and the king, and I think that's 16. My first game was fun, I'll have to admit. Fact is, the game was so complex, I didn't realize I had lost until I realized my wife had already left the table and was loading the dishwasher. I thought it was a very involved chess game. I was still sizing up my next foray when she turned off the lights and went to bed, which seemed like a bold move to flank my queen. Since I can't actually be sure which piece is the queen, it could have been in the dishwasher for all I know. Chess is like a kid's birthday party. It starts out all neat and orderly, but then chaos ensues and someone's going home unhappy. Still not it. What I've learned so far is that chess requires thinking. This is an activity that I am not intimately acquainted with, but even at my advanced stage, I'm probably right with potential. It's not like I'm unfamiliar with the concept of thinking, but like a lot of things, it's different in application versus reading about it in a comic book. I've also learned that you don't say checkmate every move. For a short time, I thought I might be a chess prodigy until I played chess. And then I looked up the word prodigy. This also has cast a shadow of doubt in my dream of becoming a violin prodigy. Chess is like a lot of things you could enjoy if you employ these 2 ideas. Enjoy the process instead of focusing on the outcome. Don't take it too seriously, and most important, keep your head down and your eye on the ball. I think that's more than 2, but you get the point. Hope this finds you read Catherine David. So, thank you so much for your attention, and again, have an underestimate today. Thank you.
All right, well, you know where to find us a little bit afterwards. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate that little glimpse into it. I definitely look forward to reading more for myself. Thank you also to everybody who had a hand in today's meeting, Amy for arranging for David to speak as well as introducing him, Patrick for your birthday inspirational message, Elizabeth for your bulletin notes today, and of course, Terry, always for your assistance to set up and take down the registration and primary 50/50. In honor of your speaking with us today, of course, they will be giving a donation in your honor to Rotary International to help eliminate polio. Next Friday, we are in for another treat. We're going to be hearing from Jerome Raukelt, who works at Sloan Longway and has been involved with the Neighborhood Oral History Project. So he'll be sharing a little bit more about that project and some of the cool work they've been doing. You may have seen some of the videos that they've been working on YouTube already about the St. John's Street neighborhood. So he'll be here to talk further next week, and I hope that you'll all join us at that time. Until then, we are adjourned.
Nice.